For Poland Daily News, I'm Phil Goss. The Polish Ministry of Health reported a sharp rise in coronavirus infections from under 4,000 on Monday to over 12,000 on Tuesday, the highest level since January 6th. 372 people died on Tuesday. Authorities expect a corresponding hike in the number of coronavirus patients in the hospitals. The highest numbers of infections were recorded in the Mazowieckie, Śląskie, and Pomorskie provinces. Since March 4th of last year, over 1,660,000 infections with COVID have occurred in Poland. For over 42,000 people, the disease turned deadly. Medical personnel in Poland have administered over 2,800,000 coronavirus vaccination doses, with nearly 1,900,000 people receiving first doses and nearly 960,000 receiving second doses. The so-called British coronavirus mutation is spreading throughout northeastern Poland, where it is responsible for a dramatic rise in infections at nearly 1,300 cases on Tuesday. Polish authorities responded by tightening restrictions related to the pandemic. The number of infections rose sharply, prompting Minister of Health Adam Niedzielski to announce new restrictions that will enter into force over the coming days. We decided to take a small step back. The new restrictions that will apply starting on Saturday should be limited to the northeast, in the Warmińsko-Mazurskie province. In the rest of the country, the current limits will remain unchanged. Galleries, hotels, museums, and cinemas are closed in the Warmińsko-Mazurskie province. Primary school students in grades 1 to 3 will return to distance learning. However, the existing restrictions remain unchanged in the rest of Poland. At the border with Czech Republic, one must show a negative test to cross. Anyone without such a test result will be subject to a 2-week quarantine. Also, helmets or headscarves will not be allowed in lieu of a mask. We asked people what they think about the restrictions. We have to comply and move on. I'm against the restrictions because it does not work. We all must behave responsibly. It's not only for ourselves, but also for others. The mask also must be worn on the nose because this is also the way we infect. These restrictions must be here for a while, but everyone has to follow them. I don't like it. We've struggled with this for a whole year now. Doctors emphasize that following the rules helps limit virus transmission. The virus needs people in order to spread. Therefore, it is our behavior that determines the number of infections and, indirectly, the number of cases and deaths. It's mostly up to us. Reducing the number of infections will shrink the number of patients in hospitals, thereby unburdening the health service. Each patient is treated equally, but problems arise when the system reaches capacity, when all facilities are full and new patients come to the hospital. We should remember not to shut ourselves up at home. Walks on sunny days and fresh air have a valuable impact on our immune system. Value-added tax, or VAT, is an extremely complicated fiscal tool. All over the European Union, VAT fraud diverts significant sums of government funds through loopholes in the system. Poland was particularly subject to such fraud, with as much as a quarter of total VAT revenue stolen. Recent government efforts have curbed the level of fraud, now down to around 12%. Some still think the government should do more. Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki answered these charges in Parliament, describing actions taken by his government to tighten the tax system and increase tax revenues. In the past 5 years, VAT has risen nearly 48%, calculated in the year 2020, which was a year of crisis. Corporate income tax has risen over 54% and personal income tax has risen over 46%, so we might observe some regularity. Our coalition is trying to use appropriate tools for fiscal policy, and this is met with success. Year after year, we improve analytical methods, training, and processes at the Ministry of Finance. In the year of the crisis, we will have had a lower budget deficit than in previous years when the opposition was in charge, before the crisis occurred.
Zastosować najlepsze, najbardziej właściwe instrumenty do polityki fiskalnej.
In Gdansk, a high-profile case started involving political corruption. Paweł Adamowicz, who served as city president for over 20 years and who was murdered in January 2019, allegedly had difficulty explaining his large bank balance and large real estate holdings. His wife Magdalena, who was elected to the European Parliament after his murder, was allegedly also instrumental in these. In opening statements, she pleaded not guilty and submitted explanations to the Gdansk court. Prosecutors allege that Magdalena Adamowicz incorrectly reported taxes for rental income and for hiding income, which, according to investigators, she committed with her husband Paweł Adamowicz, the president of Gdansk, murdered in January 2019. In tax returns for 2011 and 2012, Adamovich supposedly concealed income of nearly 300,000 zloty under one charge and another 100,000 zloty under another. Prosecutors also accuse her of non-settlement of income from renting apartments. According to investigators, Adamovich underpaid nearly 120,000 zloty. For Poland Daily News, I'm Phil Goss. Good night.